What up, people? What's good? Salute, salute.
Yes, sir.
Yo, what's good, everybody? Salute to the tribe. We're hip hop and comics and hip hop. We're a niche channel. We're a niche channel. Reserved for the best is super dope. I do sell comics. Check me out on Instagram at 6th_element_comics. Yeah, because comic books are the sixth element of hip hop. That is a fact. What's good? Sixth element of hip hop. Oh, and this is Stu and Reno here to kick it with y'all. What's good? Skeleton Crew is official. Tissue. Yo, yo, yo. What's good? Corey, Slade, Norin Red. Salute.
Badger, salute. Norin Red, salute.
Yeah, man, that shows off the keezy. I'm really blown away by it because, well, what I'm blown away by is that Disney is like giving us quality and production, you know, good writing and all of this good stuff with the show that's geared towards kids. Not that mean, and listen, I want to say like that's not a problem. Like just because it's geared towards kids does not make it bad. Doesn't mean I don't like it. Doesn't mean I can't enjoy it at all.
Right.
That's fine.
Agreed.
Yeah. But I feel like maybe because it's Disney, that's why they putting all the money and all the eggs into the kids show because they're Disney. I don't know if that's, you know, maybe I'm reaching, but you got Andor on one end of the spectrum as far as adult content, like geared more towards an older demographic, Star Wars wise, and then Skeleton Crew's on the other end of the spectrum. It was like Andor, Skeleton Crew, and in the middle, you know, you have Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, Kenobi, like that. Skeleton Crew, Kenobi, and then you know, but that's also where the production quality is. Andor has the peak production and peak writing and peak acting, you know, and then now we're finding out that Skeleton Crew is on that same level. I think Skeleton Crew has the best production quality all around that Disney's done besides Andor. Like it goes Andor, Skeleton Crew, then maybe like Mandalorian, and then maybe like Ahsoka, Boba Fett, Kenobi, like that.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I can definitely agree with that. Because Kenobi was I don't know. It was just generic.
It's horrendous.
The production and but the story it didn't captivate anybody, and it didn't really tell. It didn't like you got to take Raven out the story. She has really nothing. It should have been more of Obi-Wan and Vader facing off against each other, whether it be verbally or with lightsabers.
I didn't mind Reva as much as I hated that little baby, the baby Leia.
That too. She's got to come out too.
That was hard.
It made no sense. Right. Yeah. It made no sense to put them in there. Like it was like they were added after the fact or whatever, or just to like it just made no sense. It just needed more closure. He's right. It just didn't do it. It didn't amount to nothing.
Yeah.
Just a short meaning. Yeah, it didn't amount to anything. So it was just a waste. It was a wasted idea. It was just a wasted idea. Skeleton Crew now, on the other hand, I love it. I think this is what Disney should be doing.
Really good.
Yeah, I also think that this is what I expect from Disney Plus. I expect to see something like this on Disney Plus, to be able to watch it, enjoy it. The production quality is good. The acting, the kids are a blast to watch. I love the episodic nature of it. It's not too short. It ain't too long. It's right in the middle. And each episode, what I like the most is how the episode just ends. Like it just like boom. You're like, oh, you're like, wait a minute. I love it, man. I'm having a blast watching it, man.
Yeah,
the cliffhanger, the way they cliffhang the episodes. Also, too, like I noticed when I watched episode 3, I noticed because I watched episode 2 over and then I watched episode 3. I noticed that in their universe, the planet that the kids come from doesn't exist to everybody else. It's like a myth.
Yeah.
And then everybody, right. And then the kids think that everything that we've seen about Star Wars is a myth because they've never been off planet.
And they don't know shit about Star Wars, really.
They don't know. No. To them,
I know a lot of And a lot of people might like if you first watch Skeleton Crew and you start watching it initially, if you don't keep watching it, you're gonna be like, "Oh, this is just not Star Wars. They're not, this is like they're not even worried about Star Wars lore here. This is just a completely just a made up thing with the Star Wars skin on it." Because the way it starts out is it like these kids that like they're wrong about the lore, like they're making mistakes, stuff that Star Wars fans are like, hey, that's not how that works, and that's not how that works. And why don't they understand that? And why would a kid in Star Wars say that? And why would these Star Wars kids be like amazed when they see aliens? Like that doesn't fit for this universe. But if you just keep watching like 5 more minutes, you'll see that they do explain that. And the reason that these kids and the reason that all that shit has been the way it is because, like you said, Stu, on Adelan, it's this mythological, missing off the star charts planet that no one knows exists. No one knows where it is. They think it's a myth, and it reminds me of in the prequel. Remember the prequel episode or the prequel movies where they were trying to find Camino, where they were making the clones and they were looking at the star map and it wasn't on the planet. It wasn't on the planet. Empty space. I think that's what's going on here with at Atten. And so they explain it. It makes sense. Yeah, they make it.
I remember also, when the robot, when they first got in the ship, and remember they jumped out of hyperspace and they were just sitting there. And the robot was like, the kid was like, turn us around, just take us back. And the robot was like, take us back to where? And like, where we, like, what planet? The robot didn't even know that the planet, when he was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, he's like, I don't know what planet you're talking about. And they were like, he named like a couple of other places they could go, but he didn't name their planet. So, like you said, they are basically not being able to justify where they're from because everybody thinks it's a myth. And then when the kid had the little credits, he was like, yo, where'd you get Imperial credits that are in like mint condition? Like, you got mint condition Imperial credits. Like, where'd you get those from? And the little girl's like, oh, his father gave him those for lunch money. They're like, huh? I'm like, wait a minute. What is going on? So to me, you have to peep that. That's something in the writing that if you don't pay attention to in the show, it's gonna throw you off.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's good quality writing. Like that means that they cared about what they were writing. The story is important. It's meaningful. It has stakes. It's not just a throwaway cookie cutter nonsense, thing that you don't really have to pay attention to. Like, it's really well done. And episode 3 picks right up where episode 2 left off, right? With the core 4 kids. You have Wim, Neil, Fern, and KB, and Jude Law, who has helped them escape from this prison cell on the brig on Port Borgo. And so David Lowery returns to direct this script here, and he penned the series with the creator Chris Ford and John Watts, and so it kind of gives even more of the Captain Hook and the Lost Boys vibes that the original episodes kind of gave us a glance at, and I think the episode opens up on at Atten, where Wim's father, played horribly by Tunde Adebimpe. His name's Wendell. I really think he's doing a horrible job at this role. I gotta say it. He's like really overacting. He's really just terrible. But moving on, Fern's mother, Farah, played by Carrie Condon, and KB's mothers are dutifully waiting for news about their runaway children, right? Because at this point, the parents are like, where are the kids? Like, they've been gone for a couple of days now. And the security droids relaying the news that they've discovered that the starship that the kids were on breached the barrier. So there's a barrier, right? This Atten planet, it's got a barrier. There's something that keeps it from the rest of the universe and keeps other people from seeing it, keeps other people from sensing it and knowing it's there. And and so the planet's leadership, the government on Atten can't risk contacting the outside, outside the barrier. And so the parents rail against this verdict, right? And so for whatever reason, it doesn't sound like anyone is going to be willing to go after the kids, right? They're just, we can't do it, sorry. Across the first 3 episodes, it's been teased that there's something, different about this planet. And with episode 3, it becomes even more apparent, that it was hidden for a reason. I think personally it has something to do with money, like major finances, like the finances of the galaxy, which would then lead me to the Mune race, which is a race of aliens that are basically the accountants of the galaxy, of which Darth Plagueis was one. And Disney's kind of like trying to, you know, do a little fan service, and they did Darth Plagueis in the last show, so who knows? But we we saw the kids today. They had their money out. Remember, you said, Stu, that they had got that lunch money from his pops, and it's the little gold credits, and they had them out on the table and shit, and they were talking about what their parents do for a living. Like, oh, my mom's an analyst and my mom's an accountant and all this. Like, well, what do they analyze? Like, what do they do? And the one kid said, I think it's something to do with money. And then he like, covered up the money to hide it from the rest of them dudes. Or, well, I guess just from what's his name, from Jude Law, who is not a Jedi, by the way. He's a scoundrel. He's a scoundrel. He's definitely got some telekinetic ability. So far, all he's done is telekinetics. So whether he's a Jedi, whether he is just telekinetic, I don't know if that's a thing Disney's going to say is now in Star Wars. Oh, he's just telekinetic. Or maybe I think maybe he was like a Padawan that never fully became a Jedi and ended up like having to, for whatever reason, maybe became orphaned and had to, make his way on the pirate ships.
Yeah,
that would be dope. But his name is Jad Nah, and between the Undersecretary Farah referencing the Republic, not the New Republic, just the Republic, Wim's obsession with the Jedi, he's always talking about the Jedi, who are long gone at this point. There's no Jedi, right? The Jedi are an old legend, but the kids on Atten don't know this. They still think they can grow up and become Jedi. And that's the first thing that hit me. I'm like, why would a kid from this galaxy even think you could grow up and become a Jedi? You can't grow up and then go become a Jedi. You have to be raised as a Jedi. You don't grow up and then go become one. That's something only Luke Skywalker was able to pull off because of who he is. But after Jad Nah's 11th hour introduction in this episode makes strides in establishing who he is as a character. It's really kind of a introduction to Jad Nah. The first episode was like an intro to the show. The second episode was more of an intro to the kids, and this is definitely an intro to Jude Law's character. And they really, give a good kind of description of who he is based on interactions with other characters and shit like that, or at least who he wants the children to believe that he is. And there is no questioning the fact that Jad Nah can clearly do some Force abilities, but just because Wim thinks he's a Jedi, doesn't mean he is a Jedi. And of course, he's never actually said I'm a Jedi. He's alluded to it and he's implied it, and he's not corrected them when they've called him one, but he technically never said he was one, aside from the fact that Order 66 wiped out, a majority of the Jedi 2 decades ago, and everyone would know this. But it doesn't really make sense for Jad to be a bona fide Jedi, even though some Jedi obviously escaped Order 66. A lot of them did, but definitely not any noticeable number of them. But throughout the episode, it sort of revealed that he is, in fact, the Captain Silvo that we were introduced to in episode 1. If you remember, in the beginning, when he had the helmet on. Right. And I figured that was him too, and it kind of sounded like a distorted voice of Jude Law, and I kind of thought that was going to be him. And that's him. And so it's clear that he is an unscrupulous fellow, and that he has no qualms about lying to children or killing people in front of children. But their prison break is surprisingly successful, in part because Jad has the Force, and that's why they were able to get out of prison. Why he didn't get out of prison before the kids got there is the question.
It's a mystery. Yeah, that's a mystery.
You know what I'm saying? Like, why Why you think he ain't get out before they came?
Yeah. Plus, we also know that Skeleton takes place. I think it's like 5 years after Return of the Jedi. So I'm
Yeah.
thinking Reno. I'm thinking that. Remember in Andor when they were talking about how the Empire was like hiding all these credits. They had like all these credits they were taking everywhere, and they stole a bunch of them. And there was a lot in that ship that they stole. I'm thinking
Hmm.
maybe this might have something to do with that, and that's why those kids had the credits and nobody else did.
I mean, I don't know, whether it had nothing to do with that.
Yeah, because remember when they gave it to that little I don't know the little creature thing that drove them to the that came and docked them from their ship that
Yeah.
tethered them. I mean not tethered them, ferried them. And the
Yeah.
kid gave him a credit, and the little monster went up. He was like, "Yo, like a credit?" Just he was like, "Oh yeah, yeah." And then next thing you
From Ad
know,
Aden.
yeah. And they were like,
Yeah.
he was like, "Yo, that's an." And then the guy said the credit was in mint condition. So
Right.
that's another thing.
Right. That's why I think it's some sort of like depository. And maybe like you said, maybe it's where the Empire puts all their money, right? But I just wonder if it's just that, you know, how is this world so mythological, so well known about, even though it's not known about, it's like a myth seemingly that would have had to been around for a long time, like a myth like that, a legend like that seems like it would be maybe pre-empire, but if it is some sort of a bank, where the inhabitants are just the bankers, um, it would make sense for the money to be, mint, and definitely other people to see it in the galaxy and be like, whoa. And so it's got to be it's something to do with something like that. But why? But how long it's been around and who's doing that and who it's for and like all that. That's what's going to be interesting to find out. Um,
Right. Because I think it's
Also,
gonna be something about them, just the credits and the planet. That's a big role in this right now that we don't know
yeah,
because everybody keeps saying the same thing. Where'd you get? And they keep saying the credits are in mint condition. They're in mint condition now. If this is what like 9, 10 years after Return to Jedi, then yeah, that could be
yeah,
that makes it accurate.
yeah. Well, when they're sitting around eating, like in that one scene, Neil, the elephant guy, uh, suggests that the treasure is apparently on at Atten, that it must be part of their great work. Because remember in episode
Mm,
1, the parents were talking about what position do you want to grow up and have in the great work of Ad Atten, right? So all of Ad Atten is the great work. And in school, you strive to become whatever position, employee, whatever, position in the great work, whatever the fuck that is the great work, the accounting of the galaxies, of the Empire's money, um,
mm,
that kind of thing. But the great work is what, is something to do with it. And so everyone except for Wim suspects that Jod is only helping them because of the potential payout on their home world. They kind of know that this guy is really just there to get the treasure that's on Ad Atten. And of course, Wim just still believes that he's this Jedi that's trying to help them out because you know, he's enamored with the legend of the Jedi. And so, but later that evening, right after claiming that none of them are tired, right, Jod checks on the kids as they're sleeping, only to discover that KB is still wide awake. And seriously suspicious of his motives. She's the one with the Geordie goggles, and Jod does his best to assuage her concerns, but it's clear that she isn't buying the whole Jedi shtick. She knows he's not a Jedi. She knows he's up to something, and once they do reach their final destination, Jod, warns the children that he doesn't trust his supposed friend that they're there to meet, Kim, with the most dramatic spelling of the name Kim I've ever seen. It's KH''YMM instead of
mm.
just KIM. But Kim is an owl. She's actually a cowl. She's a cat owl. And she's based on Archimedes from the cartoon movie Sword in the Stone.
Mm.
I don't know if anybody caught that Easter egg. This is
Nah, I
Disney.
didn't.
Sword in the Stone was my shit when I was a kid. And Archimedes, the owl, he used to be like, who, what? And this owl shot out a little, what? And I was like, fucking beautiful. I knew it. And, because Archimedes, he lives in this like library basically, and it's very reminiscent of the Sword in the Stone character. Is super dope. That they went and did that. Let me
Yeah,
see.
dope.
Live reaction of the Egregious Commandos later today. That will be on Saturday, my man. Yep, Saturday we will do the DC show Creature Commandos episode 3. Do that on Saturday.
Yeah. Creature Man is another thing that's dope right now. It's a dope show. Yeah.
Hell yeah. So
Now, do you also think, that because they're so far out, like the robot said, that they don't know the war is over? Like all the grown-ups might still be working for the Empire and doing whatever it is they do,
right.
and they just don't know that it's over. So they're still doing whatever it is they were supposed to do in the Empire. And we do know the Empire had things all over the galaxy, whether it be far out or close to the center of the galaxy where everything is at. But some operations might still be going on
Exactly.
and don't know it's over. Just don't know the war is over.
Exactly. That's exactly right. They do. There's a lot of outposts, battle stations, fucking forts, just fleets, fucking armadas, shit all over the galaxy that, when Palpatine died, they didn't necessarily know. And when the Empire sort of fell, the ones that were way, way out, like way, way out near the Outer Rim and all that shit, they never got the memo and they just continued operating. And then we had shit like warlords and shit started taking up. And that's what George Lucas's third trilogy was going to be about. That's what he was writing, was he wanted it to be the aftermath of the Empire, where the remnants are, popping up as little warlords and little gangs. And there's like, gangs and gangsters and bounty hunters and all that cool shit. And this is kind of, more in the vein of what George was thinking for where he wanted it to go. So that's really cool. I'm glad that they're doing that, and that they're at least giving us some remnant of what we were building up to our whole lives watching Star Wars, and they didn't just completely rip it away. But the as soon as the cat owl, she's there, and as soon as she spots him and the children approaching the observatory, she contacts the authorities immediately, believing that he has kidnapped these kids. And she lets Crimson Jack and the kids into her observatory, and just offers her resources to help them locate their home at Atten. While she's trying to unravel the mystery of their home world, she suggests that Atten was purposefully hidden from the galaxy, which accounts for why there's no star maps or directions there, or anyone knows where the fuck it is. And despite the planet only being documented in songs and myths and rumors, Kim claims that she's always believed in the planet, that it's real, and that she's eager to exhaust her resources to discover it. She begins picking the children's brains, and they don't know shit about their homeworld, shockingly, or their surrounding planets. They don't know anything about anything outside of Atten for sure. And but they do have a passing knowledge of Coruscant and Alderaan, which they learned about in school. But they don't know Alderaan was destroyed. Like, they don't even know Alderaan was destroyed. They have no idea that there was ever a war. They don't. And it's not that they don't know it's over. They don't know that the war there ever was a war, and so like Kim is able to narrow down the list of potential locations because of their description of the barrier, and then sort of narrow it down even further as she spots Fern's patch on her jacket. But that's when Jod realizes that Kim is stalling, and immediately,
That's true.
Kim warns, yeah, and she's like, "Hey, Crimson Jack is a scoundrel," and Jod, he tries to save face by like reminding the children that he warned them about Kim that she was gonna do this, and they scuffle, and he bust shots trying to hit the owl, and it's a funny ass scene, and then KB lingers behind to make sure that Kim is all right, because again she doesn't trust Jod at all, and she's more like Kim is probably telling the truth, and Kim of course cautions her to trust her head and not her gut when it comes to Jod, which was the opposite of what he told her, and always said she'd be there to help them if they needed it. And so when they get back to the ship, Fern decides that she's also had enough of Jod and then his lies and half truths, and she bars him from boarding the ship until he tells them who he really is. And so he tries to evade their demands, but the robot, the big droid SM-33, is more than willing to enforce his captain's orders. And Jod then admits that he never said he was a Jedi, and he simply just didn't correct Wim when he made the claim. And so Jod tries to reason with the children, going so far as to compare them as lost people, saying that he's lost like they are, while promising to help them get home, especially if there's a reward involved. And KB tells Jod that he works for them, not the other way around. And of
Yep.
course, he agrees because this is a kid's show. And the episode ends with Jod having the four evade a pair of X-wing fighters that Kim hailed when Crimson Jack, which they probably should have actually dealt with Kim and the X-wings, because Jod is not a good dude.
That's true. That is true.
And the sequence is a little bit like a dramatization of how it feels to get paired with children on Smuggler's Run at Disney, particularly when it comes to having little gunners getting you out of a tight squeeze. And so, despite the odds, Jod manages to get them off the planet before he can be caught, with no real hint of what episode 4 is going to be about. So as far as cliffhangers, they kind of just cut it off without much of like a tease for what's to come. But I have the goods.
Yeah, let it be broke.
Next week, Watts and Ford return to pen an episode directed by Academy Award winning directing duo Daniel Kwan and Daniel Schreinert, which is definitely going to be good. They have a very kind of whimsical style of storytelling, and they've done some great stuff. And so it'll be interesting to see if the Captain Hook and Lost Boys vibe persists. The Goonies sort of vibe persists through the series once Lowry isn't behind the camera, and but the dynamic works, well, I think, for this show. And the series has really set itself apart from the rest of the Star Wars stuff on Disney Plus by toying with a more Spielbergian style, right? It's more of like a Steven Spielberg type vibe, and it just feels like a really well made blockbuster movie from the 80s. And that's dope. It was a dope era, and it perfectly blends with the Star Wars' campier aesthetics, and with three episodes under his belt, Skeleton Crew has crafted a very curious mystery to solve: where At-Aten is, what At-Aten is, what they do on At-Aten, what the great work is, all of these great things that they've set up, that are very interesting, and I'm very curious about. So hopefully the creative team has given themselves enough time with the remaining episodes to answer all those questions and doesn't leave us hanging on any of them. But I think they have definitely well thought out this whole deal. You can tell that it's a well thought out show. It's definitely well written.
Yeah. Well
Well
acted.
planned. Yeah.
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 Yeah. 100%. It's just fun to watch. you know, and then try to guess what's going on. You know, they're making it make sense, uh, and I like it, man. I'm really having a blast watching. Now, do we know how many episodes there's going to be, or no?
Well,
Because we only get like 5 episodes when it comes to Star Wars.
yeah. Hang on, let me get another battery. My mouse is broke.
Mhm. Yeah, so we know that it's all the protagonists are young and skeleton crew. They're lost in space, like the original Lost in Space, and and we got pirates. Space pirates are always cool back in the '80s. I mean, just the whole '80s vibe about it. We had a lot of space pirates in the '80s and things like that. Mm. Doing a space pirate show now, it's good. I like it. Mm. But Disney, I don't know. They just they got a way of messing it up. So please don't mess up Skeleton Crew. Keep it just the way it is. Hopefully, we get about 10 episodes out of this. That'll make it make sense, and they just don't drag the story on. But like I said, there are some things that we do know. Like we do know that they are lost in space. We do know that it is 9 years, 9 to 10 years after Return of the Jedi. Um,
Jesus
so
Christ.
we know. So we know Luke is still alive. Han Solo is
Yes.
still alive. Chewbacca is still kicking. So
Chewy.
yeah, Chewie.
But yeah, there's a lot of cool shit too. A lot of Easter eggs, a lot of lore, a lot of cool stuff that they're bringing in. A lot of connections to legends and to the '70s shows or movies rather. Um, a lot of I think stuff that appeals to our generation, even though the show is more geared for a younger generation. But yeah, there's let's see, you've got the names, right? Captain Silvo and Jod Nawood. Is also revealed that Jude Law's Star Wars character is also known as Crimson Jack. Obviously, Crimson Jack comes from Legends, specifically the 1977 original Star Wars comic from Marvel. And in these stories, Crimson Jack was a key rival of Han Solo's. So it was Han and Crimson Jack were rivals, and so having robbed Han of Chewie's of their reward from the Rebel Alliance, following A New Hope. Because remember, at the end of A New Hope, they got like an award, and Crimson Jack steals it, which they'd hoped to use to pay off Jabba the Hutt. And so, but Han Solo ultimately proved the better scoundrel and defeated Crimson Jack in the comics. So, but in the established canon, there was an issue of Halcyon Legacy recently where the title luxury cruiser um, was ambushed by a pirate named Crimson Jack and his crew. So this was much closer to the events of the sequel trilogy compared to Skeleton Crew, and so it feels like like the comics Crimson Jack and the Jude Laws preceding Jack are two separate characters in the Star Wars timeline. So perhaps being an inherited name such as like the Princess Bride had the Dread Pirate Roberts, and every new captain was still called the Dread Pirate Roberts. So it kind of, kept that legendary name, and so it could be something like that. Um,
Mm,
then of
that's
course you have
interesting.
the and then of course you got the Force callback to Obi-Wan where they're escaping the brig, and Jod seemingly uses the Force to distract the two pirates. He made it like a little sound, and they were like, "What? What's
Mm,
that?" Which is just what Kenobi did when it was having evading the stormtroopers on the Death Star in New Hope. Straight Kenobi move.
yeah, straight. 100%.
Then you got Hondo Okana, the
Oh yeah, yeah.
In the first two episodes, and in this new episode, the ship of the infamous pirate Captain Hondo Onaka can be seen right in the center. He was named the Katuni, and it looks like as though the ship was part of the chaos that Jod and the kids left behind when they jumped to hyperspace. Skeleton Crew. You've got so the anti-droid attitude that Jadna has is a legacy of the Clone Wars, where he's like doesn't trust droids and all that. That's a definite throwback, not unlike Pedro Pascal's Din Djarin in The Mandalorian is the same way. We got the little when he was walking through the sort of junk room with all the droids. Did you notice the prequel era droid in there?
Yep.
And he just fell apart. He just fell apart. It was just it was a barely functioning B1 battle droid that was obviously a remnant from the prequel era. And it looked like it was just like they had it up there on a table working on it, and it just fell apart when he kind of fucked with it. And it was funny because the robot says, like, did we win? Like, he still thinks that he's in the Clone Wars. And
B1 battle droid,
they were stupid as fuck. But it's funny that it fell apart because like those B1 battle droids from the prequels, they were a lot sleeker and less bulky and more modern looking than the droids from the later era. Like all the droids, C3PO and all that, they're basically like people, like humans inside of a metal suit. Whereas the prequel droids were just very skinny, no way a human could fit inside it, kind of thing. Well, you think that's weird that technology went backwards in that way?
Oh, the robots got bigger as time went on instead of smaller.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
It is.
There was that
a lot of classic sound effects too.
Yeah, a lot of sound effects. Don't
forget the you know which one I did notice right away? The door probe. That was the one the one that was remember it was in Jabba's joint and Jabba's
Oh yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Also, you remember when he like force grabbed the key off the wall when they were in the jail? As soon as he like picked up the key, you heard like this little whistle. And if you've ever been to Disney World and you've been on the the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, there's that scene when you go by and there's at the very end where the pirates are trying to tease this like coax a dog to bring them the key. They're locked in the jail and they're trying to get this little dog to bring them the key. And there's this guy, one of the pirates is whistling this very distinct whistle tune. And they played that tune when he goes to pick when he picked the key up from the outside the jail. An obvious Disney, Easter egg to their Disney ride. And then, of course, the smuggling, the SM-33 out of Port Borgo. Jowd encounters one of the old crew members who sounds very familiar. You had the Ishi Tib named Benjar Pranik. This was an alien pirate voiced by the actor Alfred Molina. And while Molina is likely best known for playing Dr. Octopus in Spider-Man in the Sony Spider-Man movies, but he's also a very accomplished voice actor as well.
That's true. Don't forget the X-Wing Sector Patrol.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
When he showed up?
Who?
T-66, the ships.
Oh.
The X-Wing, the T-66 model.
Mm-hmm.
65, I think. Is he 65 or 66? The older ones. The older ones from, not the ones from the newer movie, because they look different.
Oh
Because when
yeah.
you look at was this Rise of the Skywalker or whatever, the X-wings are different. And when
Uh-huh.
Ray was in Luke's old X-wing, you can see the difference in the newer ones from the older ones. Like the one
Yeah.
that Poe Dameron has, and I still am trying to get a model. I'm trying to
That
get
black one.
a decent one. I'm trying to get a decent one of Poe Dameron's. I want Poe Dameron's X-wing.
I got a
I
little
want a
one.
decent. You do? That's all I want. I just need like a small, like, but I want a decent one though. I want a decent Poe Dameron joint.
Yeah, this is hard right here. I got a dope one. It's good. Real good one. It's real little though. Ah shit.
Yeah, because I think Poe Dameron's is what a T70 or something like that.
Oh, is
Yeah,
it?
that's all I need. Yeah, I think those are like they're like T70. Yeah, that's all I need. That's all I need. That's all I'm good, baby.
Mhm.
That's all I need. Yeah. Yeah. And they look
Yeah,
different than
it's
the ones we
metal.
saw.
It's made out of metal. I
Yeah,
forget where I
I got
got it.
one.
Oh, I just
Those
realized.
are the Hot Wheels joints that goes on your finger. 'Cause I got a
Yeah.
couple of those. Yeah.
Uh, uh,
I got a Millennium Falcon
I got the
joint.
Falcon. I got
I got Slave One.
I
I
got
got
Slave
Slave One.
One. Yeah.
And I
I got
got
a TIE
a
fighter.
I don't have a TIE fighter, but I do have what's the other one I have? I got the Razor Hawk. I got the Razorback. I got the Razorback joint. Yeah, TIE fighter is hard.
That's from Force Awakens, I think.
Yeah, that's hard. Yeah. And I got a Razorback.
Yeah, I didn't get a Razorback. I didn't get that one. I didn't see that
Yeah, I
one.
found one. I was in Target one day and I seen it. I was like, "Yo, let me get this." So I just picked it up.
Yeah. remember when Han was like, "Never tell me the odds, kid." Um,
Oh yeah. That was it.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. He
Star
was
Wars.
calculating the odds, like in classic Star Wars. That I mean, stuff like that. It just made me happy to watch it, man.
Yeah, and I mean the girl with the visor, she was saying that she was calculating how low odds of him actually being a Jedi, and that sort of evokes that C-3PO who often revealed the odds to his fellow rebels in the original trilogy, as well as of course Lando's right hand man Lobot with the cybernetic thing on his head
Oh yeah,
would help
same.
him
Yeah,
calculate and process the data. Yeah,
yeah. Because I thought
but
she was one of those. What was those the things that were in Cloud City? They had the things on the back of there. I thought she was like one of
mm,
those where she had the thing put on
right,
her head. I thought she
yeah.
was one of those people, like, but she had the visor, so I was like, maybe she just a little different because she younger.
Yeah, and then remember the gatekeeper, the owl gate. When they went to see the cat owl, the little eye, the thing that came out of the gate. That was the
Yeah, that's what I
from
was
the
talking
Jabba's
about earlier.
palace.
The Java,
Yeah,
yeah, that's what I was talking about
yeah.
from Java the Hutt joint. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, 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 yeah. And again, I mean, I think it's a big Easter egg when they're talking about the fact that at Aten is not on the star charts because that is definitely a throwback to the lost jewel of the old republic when Kenobi was looking to locate the Camino, the world of Camino, which had been erased from the Jedi archives, which is the planet where they were making the clones. And so he was trying to find that shit, and he couldn't find it on the map. And then, you know, he was like, "Look at this fucking blank spot where there's no stars, dumbass. It's probably right there." But yeah, Coruscant and Alderaan get name dropped, of course. That was
yeah.
nice little throwback. And then um the I think when they're at the end of the thing where they're like at the end of the scene where it's kind of it resembles to me like where Luke and Han used to had the turrets in the Millennium Falcon in A New Hope, and Luke would be in the gunner ship or the gunner seat, and
Cause that,
we had that scene where Wim was in the gunner seat in the turret seat.
oh yeah, cause you know what, it does. Now that I'm thinking about it, the kids only learned about Coruscant and Alderaan in the thing. They've never seen it. They've never been to it. So that goes to show you how how far displaced they are from everything that's been going on in the galaxy and
Right.
how far off they are. Yeah,
Right.
that's a big hint. That's a big hint right there. But I mean, it doesn't give you a roadmap to where they're going, but it just defines the story more. Like I was saying earlier, I get it now that they've never heard of none of this stuff. These everything to them is a myth, and everything to them about their planet is a myth. So it's just two boom. It's just not they either one has never seen the other, and that's what makes it so dope. So the pirates think that Aladdin is a myth, and the kids think that everything else is a myth, except for Alderaan and Coruscant. But we know Alderaan was destroyed, and they don't know that. They think Alderaan still exists. Nope. Nope. Froze. All right. So we get the name drop, of course, on Alderaan, and then we get the Palamas numerals and the Proto Republic artifacts. That Reno got it. He's got. I'm just my Star Wars don't go that. It don't go that high. But I do know it's a New Republic thing, which means that the Old Republic is mentioned, uh, but these people possess some intriguing knowledge about the galaxy before there was even an Old Republic. So yeah, we'll see where that leads us and where that takes us as far as you know the rest of the show is concerned. But I don't know what happened to Reno. Uh, he must have got kicked. So we're gonna keep on going and see what happens. But we are definitely waiting for him to come back. But in the meantime, um, we're gonna keep going. Reno drop back in a sec. Um, Skeleton Crew is definitely a well deserved and a well received Star Wars IP that we've gotten from Disney. This is what I expect from Disney Plus. I expect Disney Plus to actually give us stuff like this. For my 40 something bucks a year or whatever it is. I don't know what it is I pay now, but it's just up there. Um, this is what we've been asking for. Something new, something fresh, something that is you know, something that is different because just chasing the old Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Darth Vader, we've done that. It's time for some new heroes. It's definitely time for some new villains. It's definitely time for a new story. And you can do that. You can take the core materials that George Lucas gave us, and you can actually, take all the lore and the aliens and everything. You can actually give us something that we could actually like, or that a new generation of kids can like. And because we haven't had that, and Disney's been trying to, give something to, us older fans, us fans that grew up with Luke and Leia. I mean, listen, we were cool with Luke, Leia, Palpatine, and all that, but that story's over. All we ever asked was for a new story. Whether you go Old Republic, whether you go New Republic, whether you go a few years after, a few years before, but the core storyline, episodes 4, 5, and 6, they're done. We did those. And all those characters, they, to bring them back and kill off Han Solo didn't make any sense. Kill Luke didn't make any sense. But Skeleton Crew, that's where it's at right now. I'm loving it. I'm liking it. I'm enjoying it, and I know everybody else is enjoying it too. So in the end, next week we're gonna, go over episode 4. We'll see what it's all about. Um, I encourage everybody to watch it so that we can, have a good discussion about it when we get here. And also at the same time, um, there are some more Star Wars things they got. I don't know exactly what they are, but I do know Disney has slated for next year some more Star Wars things for us. That's coming up. Hopefully, they're as good as Skeleton Crew. Um, and we can you know, do what we gotta
Hey,
do.
you
So
stayed on. That's
it'll be a
cool.
good thing. Yeah,
My
yeah,
internet
yeah.
went off
We just blanked out.
for no fucking reason. It just completely shut down. And I was looking at my modem and shit, and everything was on. And I'm like, so I started calling my ISP, and while I was calling them, that shit just came back on.
Yeah, okay.
Who knows? Anywho, let me see where we were. Where was I? Well,
Republic relics.
was it
Old Republic relics.
Old Republic relics?
Yeah. The
Why was it?
the little girls, I think it was little girls book bag or something like that. You know what I'm talking
Well, fuck that. Skeleton Crew
about?
is a good show. It's a good show. We're gonna talk about each episode as they come out on Wednesdays. And you know, break them down and stuff like we did today, like we did last Wednesday. But overall, man, I'm real happy with it. I think it's gonna be a good series, and just the fact that we've been starved of good quality content from Star Wars. I'm just happy about it, and I'm watching it and I'm loving it because it's good quality content, and we haven't had that in so long. Um, Hopefully, you know, they'll keep doing that. But we're gonna talk about some more Star Wars stuff because there's a lot of cool shit coming down the road that you know, Disney's working on, and we can you know, get to fuck around with here. And is coming out. Okay, so Ahsoka season 2 is coming out. Andor season 2 is coming out. The Jedi Origin movie, the Jedi Order is coming out. That's going to be great. They're talking about a trilogy. They're talking about a Rey movie. I don't care about a Rey movie. I will not watch a Rey movie. I have no interest in a Rey movie. I hope it bombs. The other
Damn, that's rough.
straight up and down, because they're not taking a hint, you know. They want to keep doing what they want to do, fuck what the fans want, and that doesn't make any sense. You're making the shit for the fans, you're not making it for yourself.
Yeah. Well, you know, Disney, and we're getting more, which means we're gonna get more lead women roles in these
That's
movies.
fine. I don't mind women leads. I don't mind that.
Yeah,
I
we
just
don't mind
mind
it.
this,
It's just,
the no bad
it's
writing.
just,
They're not.
and that's
I
what I
need
was,
better
and that's
writers.
what I was getting to, and that's what I was getting
Yeah.
to. Whenever they put the women, it's just badly written. Not that we hate it, it's just badly written, man. I want to just look. You want to give us a woman leader? Make her a badass. I want a chick that whoop ass and take names and don't care. Like, give it to us. Mm.
Like Ahsoka.
Wear like Ahsoka and wear high heels while she doing it. Give it to
Well, we don't want to see high heels on Star Wars, but we do want to see
her.
bad bitch.
Yeah,
But no,
we do want to see bad women.
Ahsoka's
Yeah, Ahsoka was
definitely
dope.
a bad bitch.
But you said
And
some people, you said some people didn't like Ahsoka though. I thought
oh
Ahsoka
yeah,
was,
yeah. A lot of
that
people
shit was
don't like.
cool.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was cool. But a lot of people didn't like it. I was surprised to see that, but there's a big faction of people who didn't like Ahsoka. Um, there's a faction of people who didn't like everything. But I can tell you,
Yeah.
Ahsoka's decent. Compared to Mandalorian, it's good. Compared to Book of Boba Fett, it's way better.
Right.
Compared to
Oh,
Kenobi, it's
Book of
way
Boba
better.
Fett. And don't forget we getting a season 2 of Book of Boba Fett. I
Yeah,
don't
for
even know
some
how they're
reason
gonna
they're
fix
doing
that.
that. I don't know why they're
Yeah,
doing it.
yeah, oh yeah. I don't know how they're gonna
No
fix
idea how
that,
they're
bro.
doing it.
Yeah, they're gonna. Yeah, we definitely getting a Book of Boba Fett too. I don't
I
know how
think
they're gonna
I
fix
think
that.
the actor that's playing Boba Fett is like scaring somebody over there into letting him do a second season. That dude's scary.
Yeah, right. It's you got that, and I think there's gonna be I think it's a Lando movie or Orlando show coming out,
You're gonna make my show.
something like that.
You're gonna make my fucking show.
Yeah. So
Orlando joint? Well, I don't know.
yeah, I think there's a Lando joint coming out.
But Ahsoka season 2 is set to film in the United Kingdom next year. Lucasfilm currently is not filming shows in Los Angeles. So they're doing everything in which is fine, because guys, remember, Star Wars was always done in the United Kingdom. Like, it was always British. actors and shit, and it was largely
Yeah, that's
filmed
true.
in London.
Yeah,
So
in London.
or wherever over there. But Ahsoka season 2 will be headed to the United Kingdom to film the second season, which is very traditional Star Wars, and this move also coincides with something surprising. For the first time since Lucasfilm pushed for creative live action shows for Disney Plus over 6 years ago, there are no shows in production for their Los Angeles sets at this time. IndieWire broke the news of the change in venue for the show's production, which is a bit surprising given that the first season was shot in Los Angeles. So, with no new series announced and all the other series having ended, Ahsoka season 2 is presently the last live action Star Wars Disney Plus show that's set to film because Andor's already filmed. Unlike the first season, which was filmed entirely on volume sets, Ahsoka season 2 is expected to use a bigger variety of filming techniques, which may explain the decision to move to, a different location. Andor famously does not use the volume. If you don't know what the volume is this giant. So instead of having a green screen and then they put the picture in, they just have an actual screen. That's so huge. It's like as big as the whole room. It's super tall. It's big, and they just act in front of this big screen. And so it basically does the same function that a green screen would do, but I guess the actors can see it, and so it makes it easier to act in.
Actor, yeah, I was
More
going to say
immersive
more of a more immersive environment that
for the
they can say,
actors.
look at that. They can say, look at that tree over there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really there.
Now,
They can actually,
right. Which is why live sets are always better. It's why Game of Thrones is so great because they're literally inside these real castles, and all the sets are really built. Like all the cities and towns in Game of Thrones are fucking really built. Like real carpenters and real fucking sets, like real shit is built that the actors act inside, they act in it. And so they don't really have to do a lot of acting because they're literally in a fucking castle. But the gap of productions for Ahsoka, the Los Angeles side, may coincide with the delays in the start of filming for some of the live action projects that they've announced, but haven't yet moved forward with. They might be, reserving for that. And so whether or not that's the case, the lack of immediate plans for filming shows might signal a strategic shift for Lucasfilm, as they may prioritize developing fewer live action series going forward. Lucasfilm sources indicated that more television series are in development, but as it stands, Ahsoka is Lucasfilm's only show that is actively in pre-production at this stage. It's also unclear if Lucasfilm is planning to compensate for this live-action content flow deficit for Disney Plus by developing more animated content to replace it, or if it's just going to reduce overall content flow, period, in general for the streaming service, which, you need a lot of content for a streaming service. So cutting back on content is not the answer. I think the answer is just spending the bajillions of dollars that you have on hiring a lot of writers to make a lot of shows.
Or better writers to make a lot of shows.
And yeah, and so right now, we're just looking at Andor and Ahsoka, and Ahsoka season 1 was 8 episodes. I'm not sure what 2 is going to be. They've not really specified, but
hopefully it's 10 episodes.
Yeah, but for Star Wars fans, it's shit. It was almost impossible not to compare the failure of The Acolyte to the immense success of Andor. Though many felt that the two shows had almost nothing in common, but they sort of came out back to back, and they're both Star Wars. But now, though, they will have at least one shocking similarity, and that's Andor season 2 is going to use time jumps to tell its story, something that The Acolyte tried to do in its first and only season. Fortunately for fans, Andor is only jumping forward in time, meaning that its second season will avoid the back and forth jumps that The Acolyte poorly executed and just left everyone confused with. But what time jumps in Andor season 2 that we're talking about? So previously, the showrunner Tony Gilroy confirmed that the show's second and final season Yes, it's only going to be a 2-season banger, but it's going to be a 12-episode season.
All right, that's we can go with that. We can go with that.
And that after every 4 episodes, the story jumps forward in time. And this way, the show will explore its title character Andor's service to the rebellion over 4 years that lead up to the events of Rogue One. Andor is going to literally end where Rogue One begins. In order to get that far, they've got to
Yeah, you
jump.
gotta jump forward. Yeah, you gotta jump forward. Yeah.
And so now the Acolyte
Because in the
also had,
beginning, yeah, because in the beginning of Rogue One, yeah, he was being chased. Remember, they were on that planet, and he was looking for somebody, and yeah, that would
yeah,
make for a good, yeah, that would make for a good prequel. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Well, that's what it
or a good
is.
thing
It's
to do.
Andor is a prequel to Rogue One, and it's gonna lead right up into it. It'll probably it'll probably end with the final scene will probably be like the first time we see Andor in the in Rogue One or something. That'd be cool if they do it that way, but they're definitely like leading right into it. But yeah, the Acolyte did use a lot of time jumps back in time to explain things like the origins of the mysterious force sensitive twins Osha and May, and then Saul's culpability with killing the force witches who raised them. The obvious intent was for the Acolyte to throw us into the story in media res and leave us with many initial questions that the later flashback episodes answered. Why I'm convinced that the time jumps in Andor season 2 will make for a more effective storytelling than the Acolyte. Personally, my main problem with the Acolyte's flashbacks is that they killed the show's possible momentum, and they just, you know, destroyed it. With the series, the show already had like pacing problems, but the time jumps made this problem infinitely worse. Just when like we were beginning to wonder why this Master Torben willingly killed himself, for example, we got an episode set 16 years in the past that did nothing to answer the question at all. And, and it would be answered 4 episodes later by another flashback episode whose timing killed all the interest that we had been building between Khmer and Osha. I mean, you could not have written that show any worse. So anybody just miss me with that bigot shit, it's a fucking it's a poorly written show. Period. Basically, the Acolyte did everything backward, right? Using flashback
Yeah,
time jumps to provide answers to mysteries that weren't compelling in the first place. Getting those answers meant destroying all the storytelling momentum and destroying any interest that audience might have had in the current plot, which
and
would
left
be
more
small.
plot holes. Yeah, left more plot holes that you ask more questions about.
Yeah.
And
Fortunately
I
for Star
think it
Wars
was.
fans everywhere, Andor season 2 is definitely on track to bring us back to some good Star Wars.
Yeah, those last 3 episodes of Andor was, yeah.
Yeah.
I could even
Yeah.
say 4, but 3. But definitely the last 3 were just powerful, man. The last 3 episodes of Andor were just powerful, bro. Like
Yeah.
I had to go back and watch them twice, man. I watched them. I was blown away. Came home the next day, watched them again. I was like, damn,
Well,
shit
with
was
the
good.
time jumps
Powerful.
in the next season, it's gonna allow us to see the progression, of his character after he completes all these
Which,
major
which,
arcs that he's gonna go through.
but you know what? Which to me, Reno was great because the first couple of episodes of Andor, it was kind of slow. It was good,
Mm,
but it was slow. And I thought that, for a minute, I was like, man, are they ever going to progress this story? Like, are we ever
yeah,
going to see like how, like get to the meat?
right.
And once it got rolling, it kept rolling. But those
Yep.
first maybe 3 episodes, those 2, 3 episodes, you're like, oh my gosh, like what's going on? Like,
They were world
like,
building.
yeah.
World building.
I mean, you got to go through it, but
Gotta
the
go
way
through
it
it.
finished, yeah, the way it finished, it was good. But it was just
Yeah.
slow. I thought they could have sped it up just a tiny bit. That's my only complaint. I really have no complaints about Andor. The only thing I ain't gonna say complaint. I was displeased with was the pacing of the first maybe I'll say 2.5
Well, you,
episodes.
you
Because
you're
halfway
you're
halfway through the third. halfway
You're an
through the
action
third,
guy.
it picked up.
You're
Yeah,
an
halfway
action
through
guy.
the third, it
You
picked
like
up.
action.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%, man. 100%. But I like drama. I can do action in my drama. So like you can
Yeah.
have those words
Drama in the
flipping
action.
around the screen. Yeah, they can do the drama, but I need for them to be kind of like going at it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I need that verbal
Right.
pack. You know what I mean? I
Right.
need that. But Andor was just well written, bro. It was well good. It's like you always say, characters that we care about, and
Yeah.
that's what makes the difference, bro. It,
Yeah.
it, it really makes the difference.
Yeah.
And I
I
care, and I
mean,
cared about every character in Andor.
yeah. And we won't lose any momentum with the time jumps because each arc is going to be wrapped up by the time that we jump forward, meaning that we won't say suddenly be jolted out of, a Mon Mothma subplot to spend an episode about Andor's tragic childhood, right? That would be something that they would have done if it was the Acolyte people. And so there won't be any frustrating mysteries to solve that don't make sense, that you don't care about, that you have to literally just wait till the end to find out because there's no clues that could possibly lead you to the answer. And unless, of course, you count the mystery of how Andor ended up, jaded with a big heart of gold in Rogue One, we need to see how that happens, and it's gonna take some time. And so, but it's simple. Tony Gilroy plans for Andor season 2 are saying a very stark truth: time jumps aren't inherently bad as an idea, as long as it helps the show move forward and tells a story without disrupting the narrative momentum. It's got to be done
Are they
right. And
gonna
so,
be now? Are they gonna be time jumps or flash forwards?
time
Because
jumps,
like remember,
time
okay,
jumps.
okay, jump all right.
Yeah,
Because I know
yeah,
because remember in Lost they had the flash forwards and the
right.
flashbacks. You know what
Yeah,
I
no,
mean?
no, no.
Same thing
They're
with
they're
time jump.
literally jumping. Time jump
They
means once
literally
we
jump.
go there, we stay there.
They
Like
stay
we
there.
jump
Okay,
forward and stay there.
they stay
We're
there. All
gonna
right,
jump
cool.
forward. We
No, that's
stay
why I
there
was
and then
asking.
we
Yeah, that's
jump
why.
forward and stay
Yeah, no,
there and
that's why I
jump
was like,
forward.
yeah, that's why I was asking. Is it gonna be a flash forward? Because now that you're saying it's a time. All right, cool. Time jump. I can deal with it. Yeah, that would progress it more. That would progress it even better.
Yeah, I mean, when it's jumps that don't help the story, that's just gimmicks. That's just silly for no reason. And in the case of the Acolyte, right, frustrating gimmicks had a habit of killing the pace right when things, were starting to like maybe be a story that you could kind of be like, okay, now I see what's going on. Like they would ruin it. And thankfully, Tony Gilroy discovered that there's one way out for making these jumps work, and that's simply telling a good fucking story and letting everything else sort itself out. You tell a good story, that's all that matters. You write a good story, it doesn't matter, man. All the rest of the shit comes into place.
Yeah, I agree.
Well,
I
I know you
definitely
got to
agree.
go, and what time you got to go?
I gotta go now.
All
No,
right.
I mean at least I can still like quarter after, man. But we got 3 more minutes
Well,
if you want to knock it out.
I mean, yeah, it's plenty more shit to talk about. We got the Invincible season 3 trailer that shows off the new Invincible costume. He's got his new blue outfit that he has in the comics, and that's his like badass arc where the show's gonna get real good. His speed is increased 65%.
Strength. Oh yeah,
His
his strength is
endurance
increased. Yeah.
70%. Yeah, his strength is 138%, and it's all jacked up. So he's all and it's gonna be a very action packed episode season. It's a very action filled trailer. But yeah, what follows are Mortal Kombat style beheadings and nuclear explosions and uh, a good amount of nice drama. But Mark is telling the GDA director Cecil that he's quitting, and so how that goes over. But the action will apparently persist all season long, so you'll be happy. And the Invincible creator, Robert Kirkman, said earlier this year that he wanted every episode of it to feel like it's a finale.
Mm, that's what I'm talking
Oh,
about.
that's crazy. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
So, unlike the last season, which was just like, when is the fucking season going to start? Like, I was like, every episode was like, is this when it starts? Is this when it starts? Is this when it starts? And it never started. That season sucked. But 3 episodes are going to start streaming on February 6th, 2025. So just a couple months away, and every Thursday night. So we'll talk about him every Saturday on this show.
That'd be good. That'd be great.
Yeah, but it's a really good looking. It's a really good looking trailer. Y'all should check it out. Very intense. Cannot wait. And then Invincible's future after season 4, which is already planned out, gets an intriguing progress update from Robert Kirkman. He says that he's got it mapped out. Season 4 already. So you can rest assured that this show is definitely going to start touching some of the better and cooler arcs in the comics, because this is a show that definitely it's adapting the comic. You know, it's not just like the MCU where they're just pulling shit from everything that Marvel's ever done, putting it in one movie. They're actually sticking to like a story per story, and it's working out very well. Invincible may have a very long run on Prime Video. We could be seeing 5 and 6 seasons, but definitely 4 is already planned out. We've only had 2 seasons so far, and it's been fucking forever. So a lot of people weren't confident, but Kirkman has said we already written a bunch of season 4. He said the way and I have it mapped out. Roughly 8 seasons, could be 7, could be 10.
10 seasons?
He's saying roughly. He said bet on 8. He said could be 7. We could jump way to 10. But we're talking about somewhere around 8, and that's dope. Because if you know anything about the comic, or if you don't know anything about the comic, I urge you to fucking go read forward. Go check that shit out, because you'll be very excited. You'll be very excited that the show is going to go farther, because so far, dude, it's 2 seasons. We haven't seen anything yet. Nothing. It hasn't really started yet, bro. I'm telling you. He hasn't even got it. It's not even started yet. Like, this is still season 1 and 2 is still the origin, man. So stay tuned, man. It's gonna be dope. I'm excited. I'm glad. And the show has ran for the comic. Ran for 144 issues from 2003 to 2018, and so it took dozens of arcs, multiple spin-off comics, 25 volumes to finish that story. And the TV show has more space between, to showcase every narrative element in depth. So it will still need numerous episodes to showcase such an expansive adventure. And knowing that a 10-season arc actually appears to have the potential to faithfully share every element of the comic story of all 144 issues, and I think it's dope. The season 3 trailer has already shown some plans, but it appears that even Kirkman does not know how, the future of the show will be structured. But he did imply that there could be anywhere from 7 to 10 seasons. The total number will likely depend on viewership numbers, of course. People watch it, they're going to keep making it. That's it. So keep watching it. They're going to make it. They'll keep what do you say? Keep crunching, they'll make more. If Prime Video begins losing faith in the show's potential because the numbers aren't there, the narrative may need to be tightened and somewhat rushed to the good shit, because honestly, they've been dragging their feet getting to the good shit. Like season 2 was such a drag to me, because I know where they're going. And it could be also an issue of narrative growth. If the writers discover a new compelling element, they could spend a season or 2 exploring something that the comic skipped. And, but unfortunately, the show might already be on pace for, an unnecessarily long run. They might just drag it out. But interest in the superhero genre is already declining, as the MCU has really just made people sick of it, because they've just continued to keep turning out the same cookie cutter bullshit, and people are thinking it's superhero fatigue which is a ridiculous term because superheroes have been in movies since silent films. It's never gone away. Have there been comic book movies? No, not so much. And have there been really great ones? Not so much. We're in an era where they're making good big budget superhero movies and they're actually based on really well written comics. The problem is that Marvel's owned by Disney, which is owned, and Warner Brothers, and the whole thing is like, you got Warner Brothers over here, you got Disney over here, and they're these two mega giants, and they're the ones that are controlling the superhero genre. And so those are big studios, big Hollywood, megaliths. And so, they're just worried about all they care about is money and shit, and how much money it's making. So they're like, okay, that movie worked. That was really successful. Let's exactly make that shit again and keep making it until people are just so sick of it that they stop coming because, they're making billions of dollars. And sadly, they used Marvel Comics to grind into the dirt. And now, hopefully with James Gunn and DC, we'll get a resurgence of good original comic book adaptations, which is something Marvel has since stopped doing, sadly. So unfortunately, but I think we're in for a treat with Disney, with DC rather. So it's not all bad. It's not all bad. But yeah, y'all, I'm gonna catch you guys Saturday rather. So be safe, have a good rest of your week. Thank you for coming and chopping it up with us. Leave a comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and we'll see you guys on Saturday for the DC show, and we'll chop it up with you again. So that's our show, y'all. Peace. Have a good one.